One of the concepts that every person must understand is the concept of interfaithism. In the Bible, there is a prophecy about a global religious system. It's hard to imagine that a global religious system could actually be established. However, the fact is, it is happening right now. With me in the studio today is our co-host for Politics and Religion, Eddie Sachs. Eddie, if people don't know what interfaithism is all about, it's going to swallow them up before they even know what is happening.
And most people have already to this point been barraged with all sorts of interfaith language. All religions are valid pathways to God. That really is the credo of interfaithism. And the question is that true? According to the Bible, it's not true, but that is going to be the basis upon which all of the religions of the world are going to come together, and this is something that we have to talk about.
Years ago, I would look at these prophecies that predict a one-world government, a one-world religion, a one-world economy, and the government I could see, once they passed the GATT agreement and then changed the name to World Trade Organization, that was pretty easy to see. But when I looked at the religious hodgepodge out there, I thought, one world religion? How could it possibly happen? However, within the last 2, 3, 4 years, a new word has entered the human lexicon. The word is interfaithism. Now, if you do not know what the word interfaithism means, then that's what this video is all about. We want you to know because your eternity, in fact, may depend on it. I want to take you right now to the Bible because if it's not built on the Bible, it's probably not going to stand. The prophecy of a global religion is found in Revelation chapter number 13. It begins in verse 7. And it was given unto him, speaking of the Antichrist, to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. You know, Eddie, there's the prophecy. It says all people are going to wander after him, all will worship him, except for a very select group. It says all will worship him whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That makes it really important to make sure that our name is written in the Lamb's book of life.
Absolutely, but I guess what you were talking about just a moment ago was how could you envision a situation where all of the world is going to have such a commonality, such a common form of understanding, of ideology, that they could worship one false god altogether. I mean, look at the religious diversity in the world. How could it ever come to pass that everyone could worship together one false god? And it just seemed like it was going to be impossible, as you mentioned, until the advent of interfaithism.
Many global planners have for a long time told us that there are 3 root causes for war on earth: political conflicts, economic conflicts, and religious conflicts. So such notable people as Mikhail Gorbachev and many others have said to us, we must find a way to come up with a common political system, a political ideology, a common economy so that people are no longer fighting over oil prices and many other things. And finally, a common religious system. Now, the religious system is by far the most difficult, but let's face it, of all of our things that we hold dear, what do we hold the most dear to ourselves? For most of it, it's religion. It's our relationship with God. It is even beyond our relationship with our husband or our wife. That's the most sacred thing. And so consequently, it has the most potential for promoting conflict because we're just not going to yield. The thinking is that somehow a level of tolerance has to be created until everybody can get along together. To boil it down to its essence, the Bible prophesies one world religion. The global planners believe that we must somehow nurture a global spirituality. I know you've got Robert Mueller's book here. Robert Mueller was the Assistant Secretary General for 3 Secretary Generals. His book is The New Genesis, Shaping a Global Spirituality. Now, let me remind you, this man was Assistant Secretary General to 3 Secretary Generals. He worked for the UN at the highest levels for 38 years, and he devotes this entire book to his idea of how to shape a global spirituality. So we can't say it's not happening. Ladies and gentlemen, it is happening, but it is happening so subtly that it could happen without us realizing what is going on. And that's what we're going to look at today. We want to explain to you where we've been, what we're experiencing right now, and where this thing is ultimately going to end up.
You know, Jesus said in Matthew 24 that in the end times, in the times that we're living in right now, the deceptions would be greater than at any other point in the time of human history. And if you are not 100% rooted in the Bible, in Scripture, this thing will creep up behind you, and it could bite you, and you might not see it coming, you might not realize it. And so what we want to do is not only, encourage everybody to know their God and to be obedient, but it's to know interfaithism and to see the coming one world religion, see it coming from a distance so you can guard against it as it's coming, as opposed to waiting until it's already upon you, and to be able to be in a position where you can share that with other people.
In the scripture you're referring to there in Matthew 24, Jesus said that if possible, the very elect would be deceived. Now that's a really challenging scripture. That means if you're lukewarm and if you're sort of spiritually indifferent, you need to change that right now, because only the very elect will escape the incredible deception. Remember what the prophecy says. All the world will wonder after the Antichrist, except those whose names are written in the Lamb's Book of Life.